When you create a pivot table and you click on it, not only do you get this toolbar here, but you'll notice that in the ribbon there's a new ribbon item called Pivot Table Tools. You're just going to work through this just to explain what each of them does. Starting at the far left, you'll see that the pivot table's got a name. And if I click on Options, there's a couple of options. The first one is called Options. If I click on it, you'll see it gives you a number of possible things you can do with the pivot table. So you'll see the layout you can change to merge and center cells with the label, and how you can do with the indent. How you want the fields to report, how many columns you want per filter, how must it show the error values and empty cells, must it auto-fit information. So that's the layout and format. Totals and filters, you can decide whether you want to see these grand totals or not. Display, do you want to see the various buttons? Most of these items we can access anyway through here, and we'll show you how to do it. There's some printing options and some basic data options. The data options are quite important. You'll see pivot table data. It says save source data with file. By default this is ticked, which means that when you have a pivot table, behind it is all the data. That can be cause your spreadsheet to be quite big, so what you may want to do is switch that off. Switching it off, however, means you cannot play with the pivot table as much as you used to be able to. Similar with enable show details. If you switch that off, the data behind the pivot table is not kept, which means the file size is smaller, but you don't have that flexibility. You can also ask the pivot table to refresh itself when the file is opened. Going back to the ribbon, to options, you'll see there's a show report filter page, which we cover elsewhere, and generate get pivot data, which we cover elsewhere. You'll see as you click on various parts of the pivot table, the active field will change. So at the moment it's saying we're in the sum of bill. When I click there, we're in the day of the week. If I want to make some changes to it, you can either click on field settings and your options pop up, or else you could have gone anywhere, right clicked and set field settings. You can also decide whether to expand or collapse a particular section. From the ribbon you can also group or ungroup the selection or field. You can do some sorting. You can refresh from here, and it's worthwhile looking at the drop down, because not only can you refresh this one pivot table, but if you click refresh all pivot tables within this spreadsheet will be updated. Next one is the change data source. If you click on it, the previously chosen data source will appear, and if you want you can change it, add to it, remove from it, etc. So that's a change data source. You can see if you click on clear, you can decide to clear all or clear the filters. Select, we can maybe select the entire pivot table, you'll see it's highlighted, or maybe only the labels and values. Values just the insides, labels just the outsides, etc. If you want to move the pivot table, you can click here. At the moment it's sitting in this sheet at A4. You can move it to another sheet or somewhere else, and the entire pivot table will move. Elsewhere we talk about the pivot chart and how to handle the formulas. And what you can see here is you can actually choose what you're going to see in the pivot table. With the field list, if I switch it off, you'll see the field list over here disappears. I can switch it back on. The buttons, you can see here by January, February, there's a little button which allows us to open and close items. If I click this button, those little options disappear. And with the field headers, the description of what these are disappears. Let's now look at the Design tab under the Pivot Table Tools ribbon. You'll see here at the far left we've got something called a subtotal. If I click on it, The subtotals, at the moment we have none. If I click on it, I can say show all subtotals at the bottom, and you'll see the subtotals appear. So that gives you a couple of options there. For the grand totals, again we can specify. At the moment we seem to have a grand total for the columns and the rows. I can switch them all off. You'll see they've disappeared. Or all on. Or on for the rows only. On for the columns only. You can also play with the report layout. So for example, I can show it in something called compact view. When I click, notice it's no longer sitting in the cells individually. It's a little bit more compacted. I can show it in outline form or in tabular form, which is what we've been working with. I can also tell it how to treat blank rows. So if I click on insert blank line after each item, in this case you'll see there's a blank row after each item. I can remove blank line after each item. So you'll see it's a little bit more compact. You also have the option here to change the look and feel of your pivot table to make it maybe look a little bit more professional. Here you'll see under pivot table styles, if I expand it, you'll see there's a whole selection of options of different colors and combinations. So let's just choose one, and let's be a little bit extreme. We'll choose this one. When I click on it, notice that my pivot table assumes all those color options. Fairly easy, I can change backwards and forwards until I find one I like. So let's try maybe that one, which looks quite nice. You can also play with how you're going to treat some of these items. So you'll see if I click the row headers, notice that they change from bold to unbold, and notice that some of these options change as well. I could do the same thing with column. You'll see the column headers lose some of their emphasis. You can have banded rows. So if I click, you'll see the rows are a little bit more banded, and banded columns. You'll see the lines are shown. So you can work through your spreadsheet and create a number of different designs and use the one that is most suitable for you. Another feature, which is not covered here, but it's still worthwhile knowing about, is that you can create your own pivot table style. If I click on this, you can now work through every aspect of a pivot table and decide how you want it to look. So for example, if we click on whole table and say format, we can then specify what type of font, what the borders must look like, what the fill must look like. When we're finished with that, we can move to how the page field labels will be treated, field columns, first column, etc. So all the possible components of a pivot table can be addressed, customized. You can change the colors, the borders, the fonts, whatever you want to. But that's not really covered in this particular course.